What's poppin', people? SSJAipom here with episode 36 of the skill analysis series. We're checking out DLC Pack 4's free skills today. We're trying to find ways to link into or use the skills and give any relevant information in terms of cancels or practical uses so you guys know how to use the skills on your custom created characters or on the characters that have them. Of course, if we miss anything or you have any practical tips, hook us up in the comment section below. Our lovely thick assistant is the female Saiyan Potan, and her stats aren't exactly padded for damage at all. As a female Saiyan, she has a minor increase to ki blast super damage, so keep that in mind in terms of the damage values that you guys do see in this video. But other than that though, we're going to be checking out the free DLC skills Savage Strike, Spirit Stab, Dual Masenko, Burning Strike, and Sword of Hope. We'll go over the paid DLC skills when they do become available to us, probably this Tuesday, so let's get started. Sword of Hope is the first skill we wanted to check out because it had a bit of hype around it. The skill behaves sort of like a pseudo transformation. It grants you hyper armor and a new set of actions, and your movement gets restricted to far ranged hops as well. Your ki drains over time, and the more ki you have, the longer you can stay in the transformation. It's kind of obvious. Interestingly enough though, Trunks has a super soul that boosts his strike super damage by about 20% when you activate the skill, so maybe that super soul has something neat to do with it on a character that is kind of spec'd for it. The square attack when you do transform turns into a 3-hit combo that can't shorten or cancel out in any way, and it'll kind of knock the opponent backwards. The triangle attack is a far-range dash attack that will restand the enemy and close distance the fastest, and it does have a bit of homing and tracking on it, so that's pretty good if your opponent's kind of running around. The circle attack is an AoE kind of backswing sort of thing that launches the enemy upward, and the X attack pretty much wipes out any remaining ki you have left to deal the most damage directly in front of you, over 2 ticks of damage. Blowing more ki with this attack doesn't in fact increase its damage output, so you might want to save this one right when your ki would like run out and then kind of just let it go, you know. Learning when and how to use those attacks effectively will make or break the skill for you. I recommend dishing out as much damage as possible with the square and triangle attacks before going for the X skill, since it'll kind of revert you at the end of your combo string or whatever you're trying to do with it. I haven't seen many situations personally where you'd want to use a circle skill, but you got to take it into combat and see what fits for you, I guess. Go for this transformation after you've done a heavy stamina break or like maybe a heavy knockdown to be the safest. You'll gain hyper armor that can be interrupted by any sort of regular attacks, but grabs and command grabs type moves will actually kind of break you out of it. Avoid moves like Super God Fist, Savage Strike, Burning Strike, things of that nature. You can also be grabbed regularly as well, so avoid those. The skill has a lot of issues, but it can definitely serve to be the new stylish kill. It looks really nice, it looks really good. I like the visuals on it for sure. It just plays a little bit clunky and a little bit weird. If you're going to use a skill, or if you're defending against it, take note that blocking pretty much shuts the skill down. Like if someone is blocking you when you're using the skill, they're not taking much damage to their stamina, or if someone is blocking you, you're kind of not going to be able to do much. Like you're going to be at like a frame disadvantage for the most part if they are blocking, so it's really weird. It does barely any guard pressure, and it can be stalled out until you kind of either revert or you get grabbed or something, so keep that in mind. Try to build for strike super damage or super souls that buff up strike damage to deal the most damage with the skill, and you'll see exactly what is going on with this Sword of Hope here, you know? Savage Strike is probably my favorite new super attack of the bunch in the free DLC. This skill has properties of many other skills, and that just makes it kind of amazing for linking combos or like extending punishes altogether. So it's a very good move. Personally, I love it. I think it's great. I think it outshines any other skill that it's related to, and I think you'll probably get the same vibe when we go over it a little bit more here. For starters, I'll say that this thing has far more brothers than just Super God Fist. It has several ways of being used, and the most basic way is to just throw it out there. It covers a decent distance, but it has some startup on it, so that's the thing. I wouldn't really recommend using it like that unless you know for sure your opponent is just going to dash straight into you, and you can clock them in the face for thinking that they're tough shit, you know. Instead, try throwing it out after knockback attacks. It will actually teleport you into range to confirm the hit for you. This makes the attack a lot like the DLC Pack 1 skill, or I think it was DLC Pack 2, that came along with Android 16, Rocket Tackle. You activate the skill again if you tap it twice to make your character perform an overhead warping plunging attack. Now, if you know anything about the overhead warping plunging attack, there was one that came out DLC Pack 3 in the advanced mechanic of Divine Retribution on Goku Black Rose, or with his skill. So if you want to compare it to that, you've got another skill that this thing is kind of related to. If the skill hits your opponent close enough to the ground, it will even do an extended knockdown period, and you can use that to transform or to go into other fast enough attacks, super attacks, ultimates, transformations, whatever you want to do. The skill is insanely easy to combo into after knockback combos though, like that's the main thing. And the advanced mechanic of the teleporting plunging attack deals the most damage with it, confirmed. It in most cases, it's going to land, it's going to do a lot of damage, and it looks so badass. In some cases, the heavy knockdown is strong enough to even pull off, like, say, something as fast as like full power energy wave or final kamehameha. This isn't really consistent though, so I'd focus on fast and firms into other supers, maybe like a perfect shot or something like that, if you wanted to keep the damage like, you know, consistent and not exactly dropping all the time. It does very nice damage without investment in strike supers at all even, so I'd imagine on a character spec to hit with strike supers, you know, like on maybe a female Majin with full 125 and strike supers, or on like a male Earthling, this thing is gonna hit for at least like 3,500, you know, give or take, and that's just like off a super that can confirm after any knockback combo. That is insane. You can even use it after heavy knockdowns to kind of clock your opponent again and knock them away from you. Like there's a bunch of ways to use this thing. It's very, very nice. It's probably my favorite, like I said, out of this bunch here, and I love it. I honestly do. So hey, I can only imagine it on Vegito Blue and like the crazy things you can do. The way that it leaves your opponent actually gives you a bit more of a leeway to kind of combo after it, unlike Super God Fist. So you might want to grab Savage Strike just for the sake of it. The name is a little corny, it's a little bit goofy, but hey, you gotta pick it up and just snuff the opponent in the jaw and force your leg to kick up a little bit like the badass you are. This move gets the automatic plus for me. Please check it out if you have. Spirit Stab is a bit disappointing in terms of combo potential at first glance, but it has other pretty neat practical uses, I would say. I was hoping the skill would let you reset to neutral before your opponent, but it doesn't, offline at least, meaning you'll have to use it as a momentum killer or a restand in your combo strings. This skill will stop your opponent from advancing if they are just dashing straight in, and it'll even stop block mashers since it's unblockable, but you aren't at an advantage by the time it frees them. I haven't found a consistent way to make it stun the opponent for a longer period of time, so if you know anything, help us out in the comment section below. The restand is pretty good if your opponent decides to just tank your combos and sit in the juggles. It's probably going to be much better on Vegito Blue since some of his combo strings will leave the opponent kind of jungled for a prolonged period of time if you're not going for optimized loops or something like that, so keep that in mind. But with that being said, it's not really one I'd recommend blowing a bar of ki on over and over. At first glance, you'll see in the combat test a bit later, I don't use it often, and it actually does get out-prioritized in some cases, so that's a thing. On the bright side, your opponent will be able to snap vanish out of the skill, so this means you can use it as a pressure tool to kind of make them waste stamina and snap vanish out of the stun, or take that clean 1,000 or so damage from an uninvested, you know, Ki Blast poke. I think it'll do a bit more damage when you do have some investment in there, so that's of course always going to be a good thing. You could just like chip your opponent away like, hey, you might want to snap vanish now or catch this fade, papa. But other than that, it's pretty good. It can't stop incoming super attacks, but it at least has some range on it, so you can use it after most of your combo strings. Even after knockback combos, it'll pretty much go out and snack your opponent up like, hey, you're not going anywhere, you're going to stay right there, you're going to deal with this, pop. So, hey, if you find anything else more useful with the skill, let us know. We just know that it's unblockable, it has some good range, it restands the enemy, you don't get freed at different times offline anyway. I'm hearing online it might have a little bit of latency helping it out to, like, stun your opponent in place. So let's see if that is a thing that actually does happen. You'll never know, you never know. Latency dependent skills on effectiveness aren't really my cup of tea. I don't really like relying on those too much. I like for things to be practical and like in effect, but at the same time, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, you know. So let us know if you know anything new about the skill in the comment section below. We did go over Dual Masenko in one of the Trunks related videos, but now that it's for custom created characters, I thought we'd break it down officially. The skill rotates you and deals pretty decent damage as it does a weak knockback to hostile characters. The guard pressure isn't anything to write home about, it's not strong at all, and at the ceiling of the map this was most dangerous because it could hit multiple times thanks to how fast the attacks didn't actually register, but a recent patch may have actually reduced the effective hits on it. I tried to replicate it a little bit you'll see later into the test of the skill in this section, but it doesn't happen, so it might just be latency dependent still, or it may have been patched out altogether. The startup of the attack is a bit long and tricky, making this one kind of a hard one to combo into, but after warp combos you can kind of do it. Just hope that your warp combos do in fact land online. So with that being said, hey, I'm fairly interested to see what kind of combos involved in this one do make it to online play. It seems to have a lack of iframes or something to keep you safe while you're casting it, so keep that in mind. There's no way to actually cancel out the skill legitimately or in a practical sense that I've seen, so keep that in mind as well. If you do know anything that we don't know though, this is the part where you chime in, papa. Either way, it was a neat skill on Trunks, so we gotta find out how effective it is in a sort of post-balance patch era. That being said, check it out if you haven't. I like the way it looks. Burning Strike is a warping attack that behaves a lot like Savage Strike's Teleport or Super God Fist. After a quick start time, you'll end up doing a kick that does a wonderful damage tick to your opponent when you've got some investment. Even uninvested, Poten does pretty good damage in her Super Saiyan 3 form. You'll want to use this skill on an enemy that has been hit with a heavy knockdown or in a stamina break state just to get it off and behave consistently. You know, there's sort of ways you can kind of link this one after launching your opponent in the air, but you know, maybe making sure that it hits is the #1 priority, you know. That That being said, the damage from this skill is great, and you can actually make it falsely unblockable with the advanced mechanic. Hold away from the target while activating it to appear behind them and deal even more damage. The animation turns into a more devastating kick that kind of looks like the enemy had their neck snapped or something. This skill is very nice visually in my opinion, but the damage it dishes out for a strike super is probably what had me the most excited for it. You'll want to be sure that you don't waste your ki when going for it, so be sure your opponent has less than 2 bars of stamina during the heavy knockdown or is stamina broken. They can snap vanish out of the way if they do have the resources for it, so keep that in mind when you do actually go for the skill. You gotta be smart, Pop. You can't just throw it out there, Papa. You gotta listen. You gotta. It's in the manual. You gotta. With all of that out of the way, the only thing left to do now is to test the skills out in combat. This is a preliminary overview of these skills, so if you do come across any other neat discoveries, let us know in the comment section below, Papa. Let us know. The rest of this video will feature some fights against the new variations of characters, and me trying to showcase the moves in battle scenarios. It's not exactly online, we're just doing this quick because listen, I don't got time to be out there waiting for matches and shit, people lagging, doing all this extra shit. Listen, Pop, you gotta see these moves in action, you gotta see them in action, here they go. So, if you haven't though, check out the other videos we have on the channel, where we've covered combo references and tips for all available cast characters on the roster, stamina break combos, general tips to get you better at fighting games, and Dragonball Xenoverse 2, the Adventures of Aipom series, a Legacy of Goku 2 playthrough, skits, and of course more mentor and iconic skill analysis videos much like this one, and even more content being added to the channel in the coming weeks, days, whatever you need, Pop, we got it here. The paid DLC skills will be covered when they drop, and we've got them all, so don't worry too much about those, and you can expect to see basic level guides for Vegito Blue and Fuse Zamasu popping up sometime tomorrow, if not on Wednesday, depending on how the work schedule is looking. Let me know what you guys think about DLC Pack 4 down below, if you'd like, and I can tell you I can read your mind. First of all, if you're gonna say something about Rage Trunks, Pop, you wanna say something about Rage Trunks, you are gonna be pissed when you see that story mode, Pop. you are gonna be so vexed. Listen, you're gonna see vape. I'm not gonna spoil it, but certain files are found on the game involving 2 characters that are not play. Xenoverse, Pop. You gotta love it. You know, you gotta. Saiyan Tails don't even listen. It's neither here nor there. All right. I'll be seeing you guys in the very next video. Enjoy the twerking after the battles against the mentors, as we like to call them, and take care of yourself.
It's not a game. I'm not a robot. I'm challenging.